Hello there, my name's Joe and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to take a very basic beginner level look at how we can create this coaster in VCarve Pro. So let's get to a start point and let's do that. Okay, so a good start point is to open up VCarve Pro. I'm using the trial version and log in with your Vectric account. Once you've done that, come over to the left hand side and we're going to click on create a new file. That opens up this dialog box on the left hand side. Just note here that we're up here, we can see that we're in the 2D view. When we do some tooling work in a little while, we'll be using the 3D view, but for now we're back to the 2D. So anyway, back to the job setup. If I just run down the options that we're going to use to make this coaster. So job type, we're going single-sided. Measurements, I'm using millimeters, not inches. So our coaster is going to be 100 by 100 by 6 millimeters. Our Z0 position is the material surface, and the XY datum is going to be the bottom left. For the modeling resolution, just going to leave that on standard. And material settings, you can just choose anything you like. Here, it makes no difference to the actual product. It's just for visual. Let's just find something. Let's just use whatever. Okay, and when you've done that, click OK. So we've now got our workpiece here, which is the size of our coaster, which, as I said, is 100 by 100 by 6. And going to start off to begin with. We're going to add a little the little border that you saw on my demo at the very beginning. So to do that, very easy. Just come up to here where you see create vectors, and we click on the third icon along, which is draw rectangle. Click on that. Going to bring the cursor over here and left click, and I'm going to drag this down to the bottom right corner like so. Release the mouse. And you can see here we've got this pink outline, which is the size of the piece of wood. If I come back over now to the left-hand pane, I'm going to come down to where we say size. We can see at the moment it's 100 millimeters, which is the size of our coaster. I'm going to change that down to 85 on the x-axis, and the same on the y. These are not linked. Sometimes we'll get a link, but we don't on this one. So change that to 85 as well. And just notice that we've got the radius internal button ticked, which is what's giving us this internal radius there. So if I apply that now, we've now got the outline that we're going to use. So let's close that and move on. We'll next look at how we can add a image or a logo to our coaster. So our next challenge is to add a JPEG or PNG type image and then turn that into a vector file so that the VCarve can understand it. So what we'll do is we'll start off by, I'm just going to deselect the outline that we've got there. I'm going to come back across to the where it says file operations, and this third icon in, which is insert a bitmap. I'm going to click on that. That'll open up a box, and I'm now going to find an image that we're going to add. So let's get images. Got a little spider webby type thing somewhere. What have I done with it? Was it that one? There we go. So we've got this image here. It is obviously too large, so we need to decrease the size of it, and then we need to turn it into a vector file. So while it's selected, we can see that the whole image is selected. I'm going to come across here to the where we have transform objects. Second icon in is the resize button. So I'm going to left click on that, and you'll see here we've got this panels opened here. And here I can change the dimensions of the image, and you'll notice here that they're linked. So I only need to change one to begin with. So let's go for 65. Oops. That's me being clumsy. So I've got 65 there. Let's apply that. Here we go. Maybe a little bit more. Let's try 70. Apply that. And that looks okay to me. So let's close that. I'm just going to deselect it just by left clicking on my image and just see this is what our image is going to look like. So that's fine. So I'm just going to re-click the image to highlight it, if I can get the edge on it. And now what I need to do is turn it into a vector file. So what we do now is we'll come back to create vectors, come down to this third row down, and you see here we've got a picture of a little birdie. Now if we click on that, left click, that'll open up this panel here. We're working in black and white only, so we're going to select the black and white button. And now depending on the image we have, on the complexity or whatever, we may sometimes have to play around with these slides to get a good result. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this simple, and I'm just going to preview and see what this looks like with the current settings. So I'm going to come down here and click on preview. And we can see here already that we got quite a good impression there of our image. So I'm going to apply that. So come back across here, click on apply. Okay, and then I'm going to close this box down, get rid of that. I'm going to left click again here to select, and we can see here that the purple lines that we can see here, that this is our vector file. So we're good to go with that. So hopefully we've got enough, we've done enough to start creating our toolpaths so that we can finish this job off. So we're nearly done. So let's move on next to see how we can create the toolpaths. So to get to our toolpaths, there's a couple of ways you can do it, probably more than that, to be honest. One is if you bring your cursor up to the top right hand side where you see toolpaths, you can hover over that, and then you'd be wise to click on the little pin there to pin that panel, and then you've got your toolpaths there. If you don't want to do that, you have another option you have is if you come over here on the left hand side, you'll see this little switch icon here. If you left click on that, that opens up your toolpaths but closes down the menus over here. Some people may like to work that way, and if you want to go back, you do the same thing. You click on the same icon on that side, and that brings the work menu back. Myself, I prefer to have them both, so I would just pin the toolpaths, and now I can see both menus, and that suits me. So let's look at now how we can add toolpaths to our border, which is this part here, and then to our little graphic. So yeah, let's move on. Now to keep this simple, I think I'm going to start with the border. So I'm just going to highlight our little outline there. First of all, we'll come across now to the toolpaths options, and I'm going to select the first one, which is the profile toolpath. Left click on that, and we've got this little panel open here, and not very much to look at here at all. I'm going to leave the start depth, which will be the top of your piece of wood, at 0, 0, and cutting depth of 1.5 millimeter, just to draw this little outline. We are drawing into a very thin coaster, so it doesn't need to be anything more aggressive than that. The next option that you have is selecting a tool to use. I'm going to use a 60-degree V-bit for both the outline and for this image, just to keep this as a simple tutorial. So if I needed to change to a different tool, I would just select the select button. I would select the tool I need, bearing in mind that I must actually have this tool and be able to use it. This is just a catalogue of all the available tools. There's no point in selecting something if you don't actually have it in your toolkit. So I'm sticking with the 60-degree V-bit. So I'm just going to close that, and we can see here that we've got the 60-degree bit selected. Moving down a bit, we're going to run the tooling on the line. So I've got the on button selected there. And all I'm going to do now is, here is the title for the toolpath that I'm making. It is a profile cut, but I'm going to change that slightly just for future reference so I know what I'm doing. So this is the outline that I'm doing at the moment. So I'm just going to call this outline, and then I'm going to come down and calculate. Once I've done that, I can now preview the cut that's going to be made. And what I'll do, I'll just slow this down a little bit. We have this little speed regulator here, which we can, which is quite useful. And I'm now going to preview. It doesn't matter. This is the only toolpath that we've got at the moment, so I can either preview all toolpaths or visible toolpaths. So let's just click on all toolpaths. And there we go. Simple as that. So here we can see a demo of what our outline is going to look at. If I hold down my right mouse button and move it around, we'll get a better view of what it's going to look like. So that's very helpful too. Okay, let go of my mouse. And if I come up to this little icon up here, if I click on top, that'll put that back to the top position for me. Notice now that when we're working with this, we're in the 3D view. Remember, we started off, we do our designing in the 2D and we do our cutting in the 3D. So let's move on from that. So we've got the outline done. So we need to come back to the actual image, the logo. So let's go back to 2D. We're highlighted on the outline. We don't want that anymore. So let's deselect that. And let's try and select the image. And there we go. And what we're going to do is come back over now to the toolpaths. I'm going to close this so that I can select a different option. And I'm now going to select this icon here, which is the VCarve engraving toolpath. So I'm going to left click on that. Here we go. Now start depth again is 0. It knows the depth of the thickness of the wood, so I don't need to put in a flat depth. I'm going to let the machine work that out for itself. I'm going to, everything else I'm just going to leave as is. Come down to my toolpath name, and I always just, for this bit, I call this a logo. Call it what you like, but and I'm now ready to calculate that. Okay, we get this warning here saying the material thickness is 6 and the maximum toolpath. So something has gone a bit wrong for me with my measurements at the top. So let's just cancel out of that. What I'm going to do is select the flat depth, which I wasn't going to do previously, and let's make this 3mm. Now hopefully it knows that the my piece of wood is 6mm thick, so we should be okay now. And it'll check when let's try and recalculate that. See what happens. Okay, we've had no problem there. So what we can do now is I can do a reset, which will just get rid of any previous work. So let's just click on the reset button. And now if I check the toolpaths here, so we see both toolpaths. So we're going to see the outline and the logo be cut now. Let's just select that a little bit. And now we're going to preview all toolpaths so that we'll see both the outline and the logo. So let's click on that. And there you go. And that was a logo created from a JPEG, turned it into a vector, and a little border outline added to my piece of wood. I'm just going to use some blank coasters that I have, which are 100 by 100 by 6, which I bought off Temu, I think, but you can get them on Amazon as well if you want to. Or alternatively, I could have actually cut this, the whole coaster out from a piece of wood, and we'll do something similar to that in a different video perhaps. So we're almost done now. All that's left to do, for my licensing model that I'm working from, I'm on the Vectric Makerspace model license, so I can't save on my computer here. I can't save. I'm just going to close this down. I can't save my toolpaths on my current computer. I have to do that on the computer that has the Vectric Makerspace software on it. So if I wanted to save my toolpaths, I would just click in here, make my selection, but you can see here it's grayed out and I can't do that. So if you have a license, a version of VCarve Pro that you can do that, then you would save your toolpaths here, and that's what you'll take across and bring into your controller, your CNC controller software, to actually make the cut. So I can't do that here. So that will be done later when I go down. I'm using a CNC machine down at our local man shed. And so this is as far as I can go with this. But what I will do, so I will close this. I will come across here to the file, and I will do save as. And I will save this file to a USB drive, and that will save it as a CRV file. And I will take that down to my man shed. We'll load it on the computer that we have there that's connected to our CNC machine, and then open that up on the Makerspace edition of VCarve. And that will allow me then to save my toolpaths. And then with that, I can then point my controller for our CNC to print the job off. So let's just cancel out that. I hope that kind of makes sense. This is a very, very basic demo. I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for your time, and goodbye.